effects on livestock, climate effects on livestock and altitude, and soil on animal production. The effect of climate on livestock and soil and animal production, and soil on animal production. One is humidity impact on heat load. Humidity affects heat loss through evaporation. High humidity adds to the heat load of animals and then reduces evaporative heat loss and feed intake. Depressing effects on productivity similar to high temperatures. Your animal tends to lose a lot of heat, right? Tends to lose a lot of heat, increasing the heat loads of the animals, and then reduces feed intake. And then it also has depressing effect on productivity, similar to that of high temperature. The temperature is high, animals are uncomfortable. Likewise, when there is high humidity. Another effect of solar radiation on animal productivity. Solar radiation varies in tropical and temperate regions. It varies in regions with high temperatures, extremely high temperatures, more frost, that is the tropical, and in the temperate regions, that is with lower, slightly lower or mild temperature. Effects on animals' skin, eyes, and overall health. The solar radiation has effects on animals' skin, eyes, and their overall health. And then strategies to minimize the adverse effects and impacts on heat stress. It also has the impacts on heat stress. And then indirect effects of climate. Climate's influence on animal production and nutrition, effects on feed supply, quality and availability, the role of temperature, precipitation, day length, and humidity, and how humidity can limit evaporative heat loss. We're going to look at all this. Um, Feed supply and climate. Climate affects the quantity and quality of available feeds. We know that very well. And then seasonal growth patterns, plant biomass, and forage availability. We know that very well. And then because we said earlier on, different crops, different plants, different um, grasses require different day length, require different temperatures, require different amount of moisture, require different nights, yeah, to grow and even reproduce and all that. So climate affects the quantity and the quality of available feeds. That is very true. And then the seasonal patterns as well affects the availability of the forage, that is the plant, and the food for animals, which is true. And then nutritional quality influenced by precipitation and humidity. The presence of humidity in the atmosphere, we looked at it, how it affects the plants, yeah, the plants or the feed that is available for the animals, as well as the precipitation, that is the water in the cloud, yeah, that keeps dropping like in the form of rain, how it affects in areas of high precipitation. We know how it affects the growth of these grasses or forage for animals, and then the tropical forage compared to temperate matures, yeah. For the forage in areas with higher temperatures, they tend to mature quickly than the ones in lower temperatures. You know very well, these plants also need a big amount of heat or sun to mature. Sensitivity to heat stress. Cattle sensitivity to heat balance. High temperatures and high humidity are favorable for parasites. Um, and then impact on feed intake, diet balance, and livestock health. When it's extremely hot, even as human beings, do we really eat a lot when it's very hot? So it affects our feed intake as well. But when it's cold, you see the body digests that little you have very fast and you eat almost frequently. Yeah. And then effects on animal products. Effects on animal products. Climate impacts the deterioration of animal products. Petrifying organisms thrive in humid or arid climates. And then economic implications of product wastage. Need for refrigeration and electricity to minimize wastes. Altitude and animal production. Discussing the concept of altitude's impact on microorganisms, on microclimates. Sorry, these microclimates are of course like a specific, a small region. Let's say the whole of South Sudan. Maybe there is a small region in Trekeka that has really favorable climate. The grass grows well, animals graze well, and all that. That's what we refer to microclimate. Having a very big area, but then a small area in that big area has really a favorable climate, and it also affects a lot because that small area cannot produce enough feed for all the animals, and that small area cannot also accommodate the large animals. Those specific regions in Nigeria with temperate like a micro environments, and then improved animal performance in elevated spaces. Like animals perform better in higher spaces because there is this saying that the high altitudes offer cooler conditions. Positive effects on animal productivity. Because well, the temperature is low, we know very well. Not extremely low, of course, but in a reasonable amount. Meaning the animals will feed a lot, like well, and they will be healthy compared to the ones in really harsh temperatures. When it's very hot, you even lose appetite for food. Yeah. So positive effects on animal productivity. Examples from Nigeria and Kenya. How altitude can mitigate some climate-related stress. And then soil conditions. Soil's indirect influence on animal production. Soil nutrients affect feed composition. And then nutrient balance for growth, production, and reproduction. Soil's role in forage palatability and bacterial diseases. We know very well the soils also they have these bacteria. It acts as a home for the bacteria, right? And also they play a very good role in the growth of our forages or our pastures for our animals. So when the soil is not fertile, meaning we shall have poor quality forage. And then the animals might not even at the end like it. Yeah. Then climate impacts on animal health. Tropical climates have marked dry seasons and periodic droughts. That's what we're experiencing in South Sudan. Though it's not that, yes, we're actually under tropical climates. We have dry seasons and the periodic droughts. And then climate influences the body condition, production, and health of animals generally. We know that as human beings, we have the same system, not far from different from that of the animals. So everything we experience from climatic impacts also impacts the animals. Favorable conditions for infections and parasitic diseases. We know these parasites and these disease carrying organisms, of course, they work best under specific what climatic conditions, right? So these dry seasons and periodic droughts also act as a good conditions for some of the pesticides or parasites. And then effects vary based on climate regions, management systems, and breeds. Yeah. The regional differences. Climate differences affect disease prevalences. Warm eggs survive better in humid climates. In climates where there is too much humidity, and the warm eggs can easily survive, meaning we're going to have a lot of worms eating our crops or our forages or our pastures for our animals due to the high humidity level in that area. And then flies and ticks have specific climate preferences that is around 16 to 32 degrees Celsius, which is still within the range what we always have in South Sudan, right? Meaning some of them can still survive in South Sudan and affect our animals. And then animal population tends to adapt to local diseases over generations. Now, the European breeds in the tropics. Introduction of European cattle to the tropics. Exotic breeds face challenges like dermatophilosis, pterosis, trypanosomiasis, babesiosis, coccidiosis, and tick infestations. These are some of the diseases that the exotic breeds face. However, our animals can slightly withstand them compared to these exotic breeds. A co-evolution of host and parasites impacts resistance. Worm infestation. Worm infestation are often underestimated. Rainy seasons can lead to increased worm infestation. Yes, as we said earlier on, they prefer environments where there is too much humidity. And knowledge, epidemiology, immunology, and drugs help control infestation. Having knowledge on how to, of course, reduce the spread of these worms, and then knowing the distribution of the level at which these worms have infested that area also helps in controlling the infestation because you know where to deal with the steam of the animals, even the crop as well, where these infestation has occurred. And then the presence of the drugs helps to control what's this infestation. Eradication is difficult due to warm eggs and larvae in the environment. Yeah, these eggs and larvae are very resistant in most cases, making it very hard to eradicate it quickly. And then historical, after the blood sucking parasites like the mosquitoes and all that, they become prominent as rainfall decreases. Yes, we know that very well. Once rainfall starts to decrease and the waters are stagnant, they're not moving, right? The mosquito amount increases, right? Those insects that suck on blood, they tend to become more prominent. They cause irritation, wounds, abscesses, and reduced production in animals. Impacts on hides, blood loss, and economic loss. They feed on our animals, their blood and hides and all that. The ectoparasites find hosts in both domestic and wild animals. Concepts of adaptation and acclimatization are crucial for animal survival. Modifications to both the environment and the animal are necessary. Natural selection plays a key role in adaptation. Natural selection, of course, survival for the fittest. Implies that acclimatization is the process in which an individual organism adjusts to a change in its environment, allowing it to maintain fitness. An organism adjust to a change in its environment. Let's say maybe if the temperatures are slightly lower than the animal can take, the animal decides to adjust. Yeah, the animal body system adjusts and gets used to that environment, gets used to that temperature. Yeah, so it can be able to one stay in that environment. And then adaptive norm. Adaptive norm involves genotype adjustment, environmental demands. In this adaptive norm, you change your genotype, change in the genes, yeah, just so as you can survive that environmental demand. It includes heterosis, that is hybrid, adaptive polymorphism, presence of population, and homeostasis, that is stable equilibrium, managing to balance, of course, let's say balance your hormones, balance your let's say your iron or mineral amounts, yeah, just so as to survive a particular what an animal's ability to survive, to reproduce, and withstand environmental changes. So when you look at when you're talking about fitness in animal, you're going to look at the ability of this animal to survive, produce, even with all that harsh environment, and also to withstand any changes in the environment. Homeostasis maintains internal environmental stability. Yeah. Homeostasis. Homeostasis keeps the internal environment content and more examples of what homeostasis. And then mammals and bats have superior regulatory capacities compared to any other living thing. Precision in physiological adaptation. Physiological adaptation involves changes favoring survival during environmental shifts. Includes acclimatization, acclimation, habituation, learning, and conditioning. Acclimatization is long-term adaptation to complex climate conditions, while acclimation focuses on changes in a single climatic variable. It's a short term. Acclimation is a short term, yeah. You just, in case there is a change in the climatic variable, and the body adjusts very fast, that is acclimation. While acclimatization is a long term, takes a long time. And then biological and genetic adaptations. Biological adaptations involve morphological, physiological, biochemical, and behavioral characteristics. Genetic adaptation is heritable traits promoting survival. A range of tolerance. Animals have a range of tolerance to environmental changes. The upper and the lower incident lethal levels. Yeah, the animals that can survive death levels are at the higher or the lower incident death levels. Adaptation helps animals survive within this range. And all conditions also help them to survive under different ranges. Energy exchange and microclimates. Microclimate made and natural changes. Yes, these changes in that micro or that specific small area can be man-made or can be natural from God. And then animals can modify their microclimate to some extent. They also have the impact on modifying the climate in which they stay to some extent. Energy flow between animals and the environment is key to survival. And the energy exchange pathways. Energy exchange through radiation, convection, that is transferring energy from hotter regions to cooler regions, and conduction, coming into contact, supposed with the environment and exchanging heat, and evaporation, losing its heat of from the environment to the animals, or from the animals' body to the environment, and metabolism. All this is a way through which the animals can have impact or change the environment in which they are surviving. Balancing equilibrium within the range of tolerance. Surviving in a given environment requires equal energy gain and loss. It's a two-way thing. Lose and the environment loses so they can gain. An energy balance equation, animals' energy minus the RE, which is radiation, the CD, which is the conduction, uh, minus the EV, which is the evaporation, plus the MH, which is the metabolic heat. Total energy gain and losses must balance over time, which equals to zero. That is thermal neutrality. So it's a balance, as we said earlier on. It is a balance and the animal. Yeah. So whatever the animal loses or the environment gives, in the end of it, it has to balance so the animal can survive in that environment. And then modes of energy transfer. One is radiation, that is emission of energy by objects above absolute zero. Yeah. And then conduction, transfer of molecular motions from higher to lower temperature regions. And then convection, transfer of heat through fluid mediums, e.g. air or water. And then energy extent depends on surface area, temperature differential, and convection coefficient. Boundary layer plays a role in maintaining body temperature. Natural and forced convection are possible. Boundary layer, zone immediately next to the animal's surface. Heat transfer occurs along the temperature gradient between the skin and the nearby air. Rate of heat Rate of heat conduction depends on layer thickness, the temperature differential, thermal conductivity. That is the intrinsic ability to transfer and conduct heat and air movement. Yeah. The rate at which heat is conducted between the animal, of course, and the environment depends on the layer of the skin thickness of the animal, how thick is the skin, and depends on the temperature differential, maybe the temperature within the animal's body and the temperature in the environment. Then the thermal conductivity, that is the intrinsic ability to transfer and conduct heat, yeah, and the air movements. All these affect heat conduction. Two methods of energy transfer. We have the molecular conduction and the mass movement. Adaptive means of coping, temporary acclimatization, that is a short-term adaptation to heat stress. And then animals adapt to wide temperature variations between day and night and between seasons. The permanent acclimatization is a long-term adaptation through behavioral or physiological changes. Yeah. The short term is just maybe they change, they adapt to a change in temperature. Yeah. When it is a hot, they sweat a lot just to balance. Yeah. However, maybe when they feel cold, when they feel hot, they drink a lot of water. Yeah. Or when they feel hot, yeah, when they feel hot, they drink a lot of water and they eat a lot of food and all that. That's behavior. Or physiological change. They reduce muscular activity. Instead of moving a lot, they can tend to maybe lie down and stay in one position. And the physiological adaptations involve the metabolic rate, what they call turnover, and recycling urea, salt tolerance, hormonal changes, and panting. The animals can pant trying to cool down the temperatures, yeah, like we say to maybe in reduce their metabolic rate, yeah, in case it's hot. The metabolic rate is really very high, right? They try to just balance, struggling to balance, yeah, the temperature. It affects also recycling urea, salt tolerance, and all that. And morphological adaptations, long legs, and other features. Morphological, now the physical adaptations that these animals can develop, of course, for extremely hot areas, and then subcutaneous fats to regulate or stop excess heat load, and then having long legs to keep it very off, like off from the direct heat from the grounds, right? Yeah. Adaptations are often derived from natural selection and may form the basis for breeding and management decisions. Energy balance in the physical environment. Homeotherms, like mammals and birds, maintain a constant body temperature. Heat production occurs during the transformation of food chemicals into one. Heat gains include solar radiation and metabolic heat from food and vascular activities. Factors affecting heat gains include the organ weight, the body weight, and specific surface area. Evaporation of water is a significant process for cooling the body. Heat loss can occur through sensible heat loss, that is through radiation, through conversion, through conduction, and insensible heat loss through evaporation. Energy balance in the physical environment. Homeotherms maintain constant body temperatures, while poikilotherms body temperature varies with environmental temperatures. These homeotherms, the mammals, they are able to regulate their body temperatures. However, the poikilotherms, their body temperatures varies according to the environmental temperatures. If it's 0%, theirs goes to 0. If it's 35, theirs go to 35. They don't regulate. And then increasing environmental temperature raises metabolic rate in poikilotherms, but lowers in homeotherms. Yeah. When you increase the environmental temperatures, it increases the metabolic rate in the poikilotherms, but it lowers it in the homeotherm. And factors affecting heat production. Heat production is influenced by the type of nutrients ingested. Yeah. In ruminants, rumen microorganisms contribute to heat production. Pregnancy, lactation, and physical exercise affects heat production. Then smaller animals generate more heat per unit weight due to higher surface area. And then brown adipose tissue in some animals helps in heat production. All these factors affect heat production. And then heat loss. Heat loss occurs through sensible heat loss and insensible heat loss. Yeah, the sensible one that we saw, of course, convection, radiation, and all that. And the insensible heat loss is through the evaporation. Sensible heat loss can be can be in either direction, that is in gain or loss. Yeah, it's a two-way thing. However, insensible heat loss only occurs from the animal to the environment. That is through evaporation. When there is too much humidity in the environment, The animal loses heat trying to balance its temperature to the temperature of the environment. It is only one way. Heat transfer involves inner and outer gradients. The inner gradient, heat flows from the core to the surface, yeah, from the inside. Then heat goes from the surface to the environment. The outer gradient is when now the heat has reached the surface, so it moves from the surface to the environment. And then effects of stress on animal productivity. Heat stress can affect blood volume that may occur due to prolonged heat stress. Yeah, having too much heat stress can lead to hemoconcentration or concentration of across the blood cells. And then respiratory acidosis. And then effects of heat stress on reproductive function in males and females. We know that very well. Too much heat can destroy the sperm, spermatogenesis, and all that process. Even the egg development in female if it's not regulated well. And then light and photo period influence reproduction in certain animals, yeah? And then climate factors like temperature, humidity, and light affect egg production. Photoperiod plays a significant role in bird reproduction. Increasing day length hastens the sexual maturity and egg production in birds. And then through heat storage or conservation, insulation, and increasing heat production. Yeah, increasing body insulation is the most economical means. And then by insulation includes peripheral tissues, hair coat insulation, and insulating air layers. Peripheral tissues use vasoconstriction to reduce heat loss and subcutaneous fat for insulation. Yeah, when there's too much fat layer, of course, on the surface of the skin, at the end must tend to lose little heat. Yeah, they will maybe call. And then constriction of the veins, yeah, to prevent excess heat loss during cold weathers. Yeah. And then hair coat insulation relies on trapped air, which becomes more effective with increased heat regulation. A mechanism of still a continuation. Body defense against heat involves behavioral means, a reduction in body insulation, increased temperature loss, and heat production. Behavior includes moving away from heat sources, seeking shade, and drinking more water. And then we look at the physiological as well, and we looked at the morphological as well, right? Vasodilation to ears, legs, and tongues increases heat dissipation. Shedding of hair can be an effective means of reducing insulation, yes. And then heat loss occurs through sweating, panting, and even increased respiration, yes. Animals with lighter hair coat reflect more heat. The relative importance of cutaneous and respiratory evaporations varies among us species. And then the heat tolerant animals may have higher cutaneous and lower respiratory evaporation. The extensive system of livestock production. Extensive system of livestock husbandry have evolved in response to climate and environmental factors. In dry tropical regions, extensive systems are common, like in South Sudan. Livestock graze over large areas. These animals are led to graze over a very big, large area, often marginal for some states and grazing areas. Nomadism involves constant movement, often ignoring political boundaries. Yeah, we see that very common in South Sudan. There you see people moving from Bor to Alanya to where, yeah, and they ignore all the political boundaries for nomadism because all their focus is on the survival of their animals. And then transhumance is a seasonal movement between region areas, including altitudinal, avoiding flooding, yes, utilizing grazing resources, and conserving soil fertility. The Fulani people in West Africa are an example of transhuman culture. Excessive photoperiod can make birds more sensitive to heat. photo refractory, ceasing reproduction. Thank you. That's the end of session 2, the effects of altitude and climate on livestock and animal production. Thank you.